Ready for that summer girls trip you've always wanted? Join us this July for a dreamy summer escape to Mexico's Riviera Maya and the Bahamas from beautiful Miami. 5 nights on Virgin Voyages Resilient Lady in a sea terrace room with balcony and hammock. This cruise is adults only and designed for the perfect escape. Spend the day in the spa, lounge by the pool, or dance the night away with friends. Don't let another summer go by without an epic vacation. For more information, visit travelbuggirls.com and click the Girls Trip tab. That's travelbuggirls.com.
So the difference is a good travel agent that you trust. Let's be clear. Not everyone might be your perfect fit. Okay. However, a good travel agent cares about you as a human, not just as a paycheck, as a human. I want you to have the best vacation. Also, if I am trying to convince you of something, it only benefits me if you love it, because I want you to come back and work with me again next year. And I want you to tell all your friends and family how great it was. So they'll come work with me too. So it only makes sense that I actually give you what you want so that you're thrilled and happy with that experience. Okay.
Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast. It's Kimmy and Heather here, and this week we're going to talk about the return of the travel agent, why human connection beats an algorithm every time. And we've touched on this before in the past, but I always think it's good to revisit. And this is definitely something that we get asked a lot, even still, like, oh, you still use a travel agent, or why would I use a travel agent? And everybody has heard a story of somebody who booked their own travel or had AI book their travel. And then something crazy goes wrong. There's like maybe a strike that happened recently at one of the airports in the Caribbean. Maybe a construction site that AI didn't know about, or a missed connection somewhere. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that happen that can really derail your trip very quickly. So we've talked about this in the past too, like the travel agent industry is actually growing, like pretty significantly. Yes. And so, which is crazy because AI is also growing. I mean, like AI is everywhere now. AI does all the thinking for us. So why is the travel agent industry growing? So let's just kind of talk about that. Like, one of the things, there's a limit to what AI can do. Really, there really is. And at some point, AI is just going to start feeding itself like in a little circle almost. So it's like AI works on data and travel agents work on experience. So let's talk about that, like what the practical difference is between pulling from data and pulling from actual experience.
Great questions. This is a topic we've been having pop up a lot over the last year as AI becomes more popular. It was the hot topic at all the travel conferences last year, and several interviews that I've been a part of. And my clients too are saying, hey, are you worried about this? And here's why. The answer is solidly no, I am not worried. I believe that with the rise of AI, we're going to have greater value in the work we do. I think we will be worth more in every way as travel agents. And I don't just think that about travel agents. I think that about service-oriented businesses in general, because there's only so much a computer can do for you. And computers can help us solve problems quickly. That's great. The strength of AI, I think, is probably in research and planning to an extent. But there's so much more about our work beyond that. That is the base of our work. That's where we start our job. But travel agents are really service professionals. They're about connecting with a client, listening to their needs, providing exactly what they need to the best of their ability, walking them through the process of travel planning, travel booking, and then travel. So we're with our clients through the whole process. If they have any needs along the way, if anything changes, if anything goes wrong, we're a real human that can respond in real time to those needs. AI is not like that. AI cannot do that. And so we also know that there are flaws in those systems. Like you said, we've heard rumors of all kinds of mishaps with travel planning using AI systems. And a lot of this is no different than the systems we already had with DIY booking travel, right? Like anybody who's going on the big conglomerates like Expedia, Kayak, right? All of these big aggregators that enable people to book travel, which is what all of us were using before we became travel agents. That's how we were booking all of our travel too. When those were created and travel planning is entirely put in the hands of the average traveler, that seemed like a huge leap forward. And it seemed like it would be the death of travel agents. However, what came out of that is the same that's going to happen with AI. And that is the lack of a human element creates a real need, because anytime you've heard of someone who used one of those things and then something went wrong, that's where there's no customer service. Customer service has died across the board in almost every industry, right? It's gone. There's no real people that can answer your questions and help you. Very rarely do we see success with that anymore. And so that is where having a real person who cares about your trip, who knows what matters to you about it, and is actively working to try to protect you and help you and support you in that, is really valuable and outweighs AI hands down across the board every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you just can't, like AI or the internet, like they can show you the hotel, like the hotels with the most stars or the most popular, sure. But like we come across this a lot, like when booking in resorts. Mm-hmm. You'll have or hotels, high-end hotels even. You'll have like a scenic view or a beach view, but AI is just going to tell you, oh, this is a beach view room. Yeah, all right. But the personal travel agent is going to be the one to tell you, like, okay, the beach view from this room is like a little 1-inch square in the corner of the window.
There's a generator right there, or it actually faces, this group of trees, and you're not going to see the ocean or whatever. Yeah.
Or you're going to have to look past the ugly parking lot, and then maybe like way far in the distance, there's a beach view, stuff like that.
Resorts are a good example, because the other thing about resorts that I didn't really understand until I was working as a travel agent is that, for example, if we just take the Cancun area, there are so many resorts in that area that on paper look very similar. And the price points might be very similar. Obviously you're going to have a high end and a low end, but there's like a whole lot that are going to be really close to each other. And they're all having very similar sales during the sales months, so when everything's on sale. And so how do you decide? And I did not realize until I was a travel agent that knowing what your client is looking for out of their experience matters a lot when choosing a resort in that kind of scenario. Because some resorts are really known to be the party center. Everybody's going there because it's the hip, cool place to be, and they're going to be blaring music till 3 a.m. And on purpose, because that's what the clientele wants. And if you happen to put someone there that's not the right client, then they're going to be so miserable and maybe even really upset. And then you ruined their vacation on accident just because you didn't know it was the best deal, it was the best price or whatever. And you didn't realize that you're putting them in the party zone, or vice versa. Somebody who wants to be, who's like, I want to cut loose on my vacation, and then you're sending them to the family resort, or the quiet place where all the older couples go go, and it really is catering to them. Like, knowing your clientele and what they're looking for matters a lot. And it helps you, once you're in the know, to match them with the right location. And that happens all over the world, these kinds of things. And so when we're starting out, we don't know all those things. We don't know everything. We're learning. But this is why having a travel agent who really specializes in the kind of travel you want to enjoy, or the destination you're wanting to travel to, can go a long way, because they have done their research and they are in connection with other people who even know more than they do. And so they're going to make sure they find the right fit for you. Yeah. And so this is why it really is more of a value than just reading a few reviews. It's going to go further to have that person who really knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. And you're not going to get that from an AI. Like, it's not going to understand the nuances of different resorts or hotels or areas like that.
And I'm already hearing reports that people asked AI to plan their trip and then the resort didn't exist. Like, maybe it did long enough to be on the internet, but now it's changed hands or it got blown away in a storm. Like, it's not, the resort isn't there anymore. Or, and this was happening before AI, people posting reviews that aren't real, right? Lies, photos that aren't the actual location. Like, that was already happening before AI became a part of our lives. So you can imagine how misinformation becomes used in a system like that, and that system cannot tell the difference between misinformation and truth. And so that is something where, you know, and it can happen to us. It's not like it couldn't happen to us as travel agents either, that we get the wrong information. You know, it could happen, but we have a lot of systems behind us that help us to try at a different level to get the right information for our client. So that is one of the benefits I find as a traveler. We just have more information. We have more sources that are reliable and are constantly updating what is true today, what is true right now.
Yeah. And even if, you know, we have a lot of connections with other travel agents. So even if, like, we don't have personal experience with a particular place or resort or something, we can connect with people that actually do have, like, they're there at, or they've been to this actual resort and they have firsthand experience. And we share that information with each other. And AI, you know, just doesn't have that connection. It just doesn't. So
it can pull from its sources, but those are not updated as frequently. They're not real people in real places telling the truth.
Something you touched on too is just customer service. I mean, your AI planned itinerary, like, if your flight gets canceled in the middle of the night, like, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? I have a real story that happened very recently. I have a client that they were traveling over the holidays to London. And then they had like 2 extra days. They wanted to go somewhere interesting that they could get to from London. And so they decided to go to Rome. Well, through a series of unfortunate events, it's holiday travel mostly was the big issue probably, but they were late and they missed their little flight on that day from London to Rome. And so then they got on the next flight and were able to get there, but now they're getting into Rome so late that it's like, dude, you know, half of our plans are already gone. We couldn't do any of the tours we had planned for that day. You know, it's 9:30. Will we even be able to have dinner? We've lost a whole day. And they were really upset about it because they only had a day and a half in Rome to start with. And so she messages me from a taxi going from the airport in Rome to their hotel. What are we going to do? And she's in a panic and she's like, I just feel like we've lost all this. I don't know what to do. And I was so glad she contacted me because I immediately could say, here's where I would recommend for dinner, but you can also go when you're checking into your hotel, ask them. They're going to know who locally right there next to the hotel is good and reputable and open late. And you're lucky Italians eat later. So there probably are going to be restaurants open. And then if you're still feeling up to it and you want to make the most of it, this is a great time to zip over to the Trevi Fountain and see the Spanish Steps and do all those things that during the middle of the day are very crowded. If you're willing to stay up late and take advantage of it, go on over there. And here's how to book a car and here's how to do all that. And was basically able to save their evening by giving them some ideas on like what is reasonable in the zone they were in, because I knew just enough about Rome to help them through that scenario. Well, you know, how are you going to manage that when right when everything goes wrong? Like, she was able to just text me and be like, Heather, you know, I think she really just probably wanted sympathy, but I was able to not only give her sympathy, but here's some solid ideas about how to make it better. And I just feel like, looking back, I wish I had a travel agent to help me with our vacations, who actually cared about what happened and who wanted us to have a great time and who was willing to listen and give ideas when I was kind of spiraling in the middle of a trip, you know?
Yeah, that kind of goes too to my next point that I want to talk about was like I have on my email signature like a travel designer. So we're not just bookers. We're not just travel bookers. We don't just like type in your information but we actually try to like design and create experience, like a full experience for our clients, where they're doing things that are unique and that are special to them in particular, beyond just like checking off tourist points and stuff like that. It really
I don't get the sense that all travel agents feel that way about it. I think some people do. You know, the reality is there are a lot of people that are probably like, this is my job. I'm pretty good at it, but I'm going to plan your trip and I'm going to book it and I'm going to take your money and I'm going to say thank you for working with me. And then that's our relationship. You and I both really enjoy what I would consider more concierge level travel planning. We love being able to wow our clients or surprise them with some service or idea that they wouldn't have thought of on their own, that is like exactly what they were looking for. And they just didn't even know it existed. That is probably our strong suit as an agency, is we really love that part of it. And so we put a lot of effort when we're training our new agents at Travel Bug Girls, making sure they understand that you need to ask questions, not just when do you want to travel, how much do you want to spend, where are you going? We want to know, what do you love? What would be the best surprise for your wife? What are your kids really into? You know, what would be like a real treat if we could do it within the budget? What, you know, asking those questions, what kind of experience are you looking for? What would be the perfect vacation? Not just place, right? But how do you want to experience that place?
Yeah.
Because some people want really low key. They want to relax. They are stressed out. They need a timeout. And probably we all actually feel that way. But a lot of people, when they're on vacation, they're like, yes, but I only have this 1 week to have an adventure, to see something I've never seen before, to be able to go home and brag about what I did on my vacation. Like, there's a real drive to do as much as you can and see as much as you can. And so trying to find the balance for those things, or really leaning into one or the other for the client's desires to be met, is really special. But like you said, trying to find that extra special, something they would never have thought of, is my favorite thing ever. One of the trips I just got to plan, we are almost about to book it, is the coolest ask. They were like, we want to go on this special trip for our birthdays. And what they were both really into is this show called Twin Peaks. And we rewatch it over and over. And I've always wanted to go see some of the filming locations. And I've heard that they're in these, you know, and so I found all the film sites and I was like, I really love this area of America that they're in. So I can absolutely plan that. And I have been there several times. I haven't gone to see the film sites, but I've been so close. I could have. And one of the locations is in one of my favorite little towns that even my local friends didn't know about. out. I made my friend Shannon go with me when I was in Seattle last to Poulsbo, which is my favorite little town outside of Seattle. And she was like, I didn't even know this was here. And so we went and did shopping and had lunch, and so picturesque. Everything. It turns out one of the filming locations for the lodge that's in Twin Peaks is in that town. So just, it was fun to be able to pull out those extra little nuggets and be like, well, you could stay here and you can go and have pastries at the, Scandinavian pastry shop in Poulsbo, and you could go and have dinner here. And so it's fun when you can really fill in the blanks with exactly what it is they're looking for. And that is so far beyond what you're just going to find on a website. Like, I need to book a hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is step one. That is not even, actually not even step one, but it's like the base level of travel planning. And what you and I really enjoy doing is a whole nother level.
Yeah. And that you can't get that next level just from like a computer. Being a travel agent, you listen just as much to what they do say as what they don't say, and everybody kind of has a different style in the way they travel. So like you said, some people are go. Some people are more a relaxed style. Some people like to have everything scheduled out. Some people just want to sort of go with the flow, and those all take different ways of planning. And a good travel agent is going to listen to their clients and kind of suss out like, what you're telling me is, by saying this, what you're telling me is you really like to travel this way. And so we can kind of tailor to, what they might not even realize the way they actually like to travel, but if we listen, then we can kind of figure that out. And that's one thing that you're just not going to get from a computer either is, that sort of deeper understanding. Yeah.
I think that's why if anybody is following us and our language around how we talk about travel, we really think of it more as a friendship that's developing. We want to be your travel best friends. We want to be the person you go to immediately when you're like, I had this idea for vacation, or I need to get out of here. I don't even know what I want. Gosh, I could shine in that moment. Like, I know what you want. Because if we've been building a relationship through work, then I have been listening to what would really excite you and what would really rejuvenate you and help you come back and be your best self. So that is also, I think, the other element in our work with women is that we are typically working with women our age or just a little older. So we really relate to where women at midlife are and what they're thinking and feeling. Like, if it's not us, it's our best friends, it's our sister, right? Like, we are in our demographic. So we understand the stressors and the frustrations and the desperate needs of our clients. And so like, if I see a new client come in and I get that base information of like, oh, she's about my age, she's got kids about this age, like I can make some assumptions real quick. And then in a very short conversation, I'm asking in heavily, you're going to overshare with me quick because I'm going to go straight to the heart of the matter. Like, what is it you're looking for? What would be ideal? What is it you need right now? And for everybody that's different, it's not across the board. It is different for everyone. Some people really need family time, like in a serious way. And some people need the opposite of that in a serious way. And so, it really is great that we get to be that person who listens and hears what you're really saying about it and then gets to surprise you with all the best parts of vacation planning. Yeah. So the other side of all of this, the reason, if we go back to like the idea of why you would use AI or a travel agent is saving yourself time and reducing your stress in travel planning. In both cases, that person is looking for some support, right? Because if you're just like, I know where I want to go and I know what I want to do and I know how to book it, then you do it, right? But a person who's going to AI or thinking about calling a travel agent is because they're like, I feel overwhelmed, maybe. I feel overwhelmed. There's too many options. I don't know how to choose the right one. I don't want to choose the wrong one when I only get this much time off and I only have this much money to spend. If I make wrong choices, then I will regret it. So I want help making the right choices so that I make sure I get what I want out of this. Or I feel overwhelmed and stressed with life in general, and I want one less thing on my plate, but I still want to go on vacation this year. I just don't feel like I have it in me to add all these hours of research and planning and booking it and managing it and all of that. So having somebody like a travel bestie come along and say, hey, I got you. I'm going to handle this. You're going to show up and have the best time ever and go home a whole new person. Like that is ideal for most of the people we are helping. And so really the treasure there is finding a way to reduce the amount of time you spend looking at all the options and the stress and worry of making the right choice. We make that easy as travel agents because we're going to come back to you with like the 2 or 3 best options. And we're going to talk it through with you. And so you can ask questions and like, well, this one's cheaper, but this one looks like it's in a better location. And we can talk through like, how do you decide, and I'm not going to come back to you with 10 options. Here's 2 or 3. I don't want you to have to wade through all the trash. I've already done that for you. I'm waded through all the ones that don't meet the criteria and are still in your budget. And so I'm only bringing you the best of the best. Here are the 3 best. Let's focus here. That helps so much in a land when we're overwhelmed with decision making, especially as women. Like we make decisions day in and day out, all day long for everyone. And so to be able to just be handed like, here's the best choices. Do you need help deciding? Because I can also tell you what I would do for me. I always do that. I'm only because I'm usually really excited. I'm like, if I was choosing, I would choose this one and, save money here and do this one. And, so I think that is a real benefit of working with a real human who can help you get through that first part of travel planning. So you get to just get to the fun part.
Yeah.
The anticipation.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like you can do a 30-minute consultation with your travel agent. And then, like you said, they'll come back to you with a couple choices. You take a few minutes, make the choices, and then you're done.
You're done. Yeah.
The great and terrible thing about the internet is we have all of this information at our fingertips. And I promise you, if you are wanting to go on a Caribbean vacation and you type in Caribbean resorts or whatever, you are going to get so much information. You could spend hours and hours and hours. And then like you've looked at so many that you don't even remember which ones you've already looked at and which ones you haven't. So yeah, on the internet, you got so much information that it is overwhelming. And it's really hard to kind of know how to narrow that down to what is actually valuable information to you. Yeah. And so you're looking at, 10, 15, 20 hours of research later and your head wanting to explode and your eyeballs wanting to fall out because you've looked at your screen so much, or, 30 to 45 minutes on the phone with having a conversation with somebody. And like that value is just infinite, honestly.
So much better. Yeah. And then you have that person who's behind you that you can message at any time and be like, I'm stressed about this. I don't know what to pack. I don't know where to go for dinner that night. I don't know what to do about this. You have a dedicated person who is invested, who is excited to have those conversations with you and talk it out. And that is so powerful. The other thing, the funny thing is the only person who's been brave enough to say a negative thing to me about the idea of hiring a travel planner was early on when I first started my business. Somebody was like, why would I hire a travel agent? that's crazy. Like, they're just trying to sell me stuff. Like, I don't need that if I'm planning. I don't need you to try to sell me something. And I was thinking about that. Like, at the time, I was really hurt by it because they were sassy. And I was like starting a new business and all excited. And then they were like not thrilled. And it really hurt my feelings. However, I've had lots of time to think about that and lots of time to be grateful. Nobody has dared to say that to me again. But the truth of the matter is, if you, let's say that person was not going to hire a travel agent because they were going to go online and they were going to do the research online, and then they were going to look at all the options and then plan their own travel. That is how I planned all of my travel before I became an agent too. Okay. So that is the standard probably way that most people are planning their travel. What she didn't realize when she was giving me her little speech was that thing that she's worried about is already happening to her the minute she goes online. And probably before that, probably on her phone while she's scrolling, probably anytime she ever watches TV, she's being advertised to by destinations and hotel chains and Expedia and all these other companies are already advertising to you, and they are trying to sell you something, and you think they're answering your question when you're like, I need a hotel in this place. No, what they're doing is they're prioritizing automatically what they want to sell to you, not what you want or need. They're prioritizing what they want you to buy.
Yeah.
And so that process that she was afraid of was already actively happening to her. She just wasn't aware of it. So the difference is a good travel agent that you trust. Let's be clear. Not everyone might be your perfect fit. Okay. However, a good travel agent cares about you as a human, not just as a paycheck, as a human. I want you to have the best vacation. Also, if I am trying to convince you of something, it only benefits me if you love it, because I want you to come back and work with me again next year. And I want you to tell all your friends and family how great it was. So they'll come work with me too. So it only makes sense that I actually give you what you want so that you're thrilled and happy with that experience. Okay. So there's no reason really for me to push anything on you that isn't what you asked for or wanted in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. All I want is for you to have the best vacation and then come back next time and have another great vacation the next year.
Yeah, a good travel agent is really like selling you exactly what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not selling you things that you don't need or don't want. Like our goal is to give you the vacation experience that you want.
That you asked for.
Yes.
So the only way that could go wrong, okay, well, I guess let's answer the worst one. The worst way that could go wrong is if someone did have wrong motives and they didn't see that bigger picture we just talked about, and it is possible to push a product on someone that is not what they wanted and not a good fit for them because somehow the agent thinks they'll get paid more or something. That's a possibility. It's not an impossible thing, okay? But like I just said, it doesn't make sense in the long run. So any agent who's doing that is very short-sighted and not working ethically either. So we're just going to take that off because that's not how anybody we ever want to work with is working. So that just straight off the bat, let's just take that one off, okay? That is a possibility. But reality is the only other way that could really happen that you end up with a vacation that's not what you wanted is if there's a lack of communication or a lack of understanding on one person's part or the other. And it could be the person who's wanting to go on vacation. They don't know what they really wanted. And so they think they're communicating what they want. And then we give you what you want. And then you get there and you're like, actually, I didn't want to run all over Rome. I wanted to relax. Wow. Okay. That's hard because now I give you a vacation that didn't match what you really wanted. But sometimes we don't know that until we're in it. So that's a possibility that could happen. So, and of course, you could have someone who doesn't listen well. So this is why it really matters that you connect well with your travel agent. And every agent I know is offering some kind of introductory conversation so that you can have a moment to decide, like, are we a good fit? Do I trust this person? Are they listening well? Do I feel like they really care about giving me what I want? So I strongly recommend that you have a short conversation, either over the phone or a video chat with your new travel agent before you pay them any money, and see if you're a good fit together, because that's someone you're going to talk to a lot as you get ready to move towards your trip. And if it is a good fit, then it might be the beginning of a long-term relationship with that vendor, because that person now cares about you and your family and making sure you have a great vacation year after year.
Yeah, that's a great point. The last thing that I hear from people is like, why would I pay a travel agent? Oh, it's more expensive. I can do it for free. And two things to that. A lot of times travel agents can actually, we've talked about this also, get rates. We might have access to like group rates that aren't available to the public, or we might have access to like packages or special add-ons or things like that aren't generally available to the public. But also, most of the time, any additional cost also is going to be minimal and probably be offset by us being able to get you these additional either lower rates or additional value added to your trip. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I did some digging into our own numbers last year and found that on average, we ended up saving our clients around $2,000 on cruises. So that wasn't every client, but that meant some clients, they saved more than that because the rate that they were seeing online was higher than the rate we could acquire for them with our resources. And like you said, sometimes we were able to give them extra benefits, like maybe onboard credit or an upgrade or some other kind of benefit that they couldn't access for themselves. So on average, we saved them around $2,000 per cruise. That's pretty significant. And something I never realized before becoming a travel agent, that was even possible. Now, not all travel are we going to be able to save you dollars. Mostly across the board, we're saving you hours and hours and hours of time. Yeah. We're saving you so much time. So we have a lot of clients who are like, I have money, but I am out of time and patience. I cannot sit on the phone with somebody and not get customer service. I cannot handle hours of research trying to decide which Alaskan cruise, when they all look the same, is the right one for me, and so they are looking for someone to take that load off of them. Mm-hmm. And that is where our biggest value comes in. But dollars, we're able to save you actual money when it comes to our insider resources or network. And so I feel pretty confident that usually we're going to be able to save you money. Yeah. Like I said, there's just a couple of situations here and there where I'm like, I'm looking at the same numbers you're looking at, but I can take all of this work off of your shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it comes down to what is valuable to the person who is planning. A person who has all the time in the world and doesn't mind researching, I really would say, have fun planning your vacation. We can still be great travel friends because we can still talk about that vacation and everything. But, we can't necessarily have a working relationship. If you want to do all the work and not pay me for my expertise, then we can be travel friends, but we're not going to work together. But if you're like, I don't want to do the work, even if I am capable, can you please do this for me so I can just show up and have a fabulous vacation for once and just not have to worry about anything? Then yes, I am your girl. I am going to be behind you 110% and make sure it's the best vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's probably a good place for us to end for today. And I think that was a really good discussion. So kind of my takeaway is we can use technology, even we use technology when we're helping plan trips, of course. but we use it as a tool to help and ease our travel planning experience and to enhance travel. But honestly, like when it comes down to really planning out the details, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to have a better experience with a human being helping you plan things out, really.
Definitely.
And helping you wade through all of that available information, So travel agents we're still here. We're here to stay, I believe,
I think you'll see a lot more of us in the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting. And I really do expect, like you said, the service related industries to continue to grow, because you just can't make up for the human interaction and what a human heart and connection can do when working with a client. So
true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to remind everybody, if you like what you're hearing with Travel Bug Girls, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on everywhere that you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. So leave us subscribe and review and rate and all the things, and come back to join us again next week. So thank you so much, Heather, for joining me. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get our new episodes every week. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Share your answer to this week's podcast question with us at facebook.com/travelbuggirls. You can find us on your favorite social media by using @travelbuggirls. Want to join our VIP group? You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travel Bugs. Learn more about the Travel Bug Girls and what we do on our website at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels. Calling all fall enthusiasts and lovers of all things spooky. Join us for 3 days of spooky girl fun in the enchanting town of Salem, Massachusetts, led by our very own travel bug girl, Cassie. This trip is designed for women who revel in the magic of autumn, the thrill of ghostly tales, and the tantalizing history of witches. Your adventure includes 3 nights in a cozy hotel, transportation, a spine-tingling ghost tour, and a guided visit to the iconic Hocus Pocus filming locations. Plus, you'll receive a custom swag bag made just for you. With time to explore Salem's historic streets and vibrant fall atmosphere, this trip promises to be a bewitching experience you'll never forget. Join us this October for our spooky Salem Girls Trip. For more information, visit travelbuggirls.com. That's travelbuggirls.com.